Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Amber, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing another free furniture flip. I was gifted these little side tables from a family friend, so be sure to stick around to see how that process goes. And if you're not already subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell notification. I do try to post videos weekly. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, here are the little end tables that I'm going to be working on today. They are very 90s, and one of them is higher than the other. I'm not sure why. And then they've got some like decoupage thing on top. So I started by trying to sand it off. I thought it might sand off. It was paper. That didn't happen. It was not budging. So I moved on to strippers. I used my clean strip and the 15-minute formula and applied it with a chip brush and then let it sit. After it sat for the 15 minutes, I came back in with a plastic putty knife and started just scraping and removing the stripper as I would normally any other time that I use it. And the paper kind of lifted a little bit, but I did have some issues. So that combined with some mineral spirits and steel wool and a lot of effort, I was finally able to remove all of these decoupage flower stickers from both tables. After I got the decoupage removed, I moved on to taking the hardware off of the drawers. I know that normally you guys will see me use a stripper to remove paint on any painted pieces that I've picked up. However, this paint was adhered on there pretty well, and the way that you can test that is the scratch test. So basically, I just took my fingernail and was like scratching it really hard, and nothing was scratching off, so I knew that the paint was on there. And it also wasn't a terrible paint job. There wasn't a bunch of runs or anything. So I took my palm sander and sanded all the flat areas that I could, and then all the areas where I wasn't able to get my palm sander into, I just took a piece of sandpaper. I believe I took a 120 grit, and I just hand sanded all of that. Like you guys saw in the beginning, one of the tables had these extra feet on them to raise them up. So I started by just hammering them off. I really wasn't sure how they were on, and ended up they were kind of on with a screw, but the screw was actually screwed into the leg, not onto the foot. So I went and got my drill, and I locked my drill around that screw and then unscrewed it with my drill out of the leg. My original plan was to stain these tops, but when I got to sanding it, it didn't sand out very pretty. There was lots of dark spots. The outer edges are solid pine, and then the inner center is a weird veneer. So I wasn't happy with the way that it was looking. So I decided that I wasn't going to stain that wood, and I would just make my own faux wood grain instead. And I will be showing you guys how to do that later on in the video. At this time, I realized that I had actually forgot to clean the piece. I was working on about 4 different pieces at the same time and just was not really paying attention. So in theory, you would want to clean your piece before you start sanding, but I'm doing it now, so at least it's getting done. But yeah, always clean your piece first. Don't be like me. One of the drawer fronts was a little bit crooked and it was pretty loose, so I popped it off with my screwdriver and a putty knife, and then I used some Gorilla Glue and some clamps to put it back on so that it was nice and level. Using some DAP wood filler, I filled in any dents and dings, and once that was all dry, I used a sanding sponge to sand it all smooth. I am using the color Perfect White by Mélange. This is in the one formula. They're all in one formula. So it includes the primer, paint, and top coat. And I am applying this with my Zebra round brush. The round brush is really good for getting around turned legs. I did a total of 3 coats of this on the entire base and the apron. To create the faux green look, you are going to need a color for your base, and I am using 3 Trees Tan by Melange. Then you're going to need a color for your grain, and I am using Restoration Bronze, also from Melange, and this one's in the one formula. You're going to need a grain tool, and mine is from Polyvine, and it's got a bigger grain on one side and a smaller grain on the other. And then you're going to want a stain, and I am using Varathane Dark Walnut in the water-based formula. So first you're going to want to apply your base color across your entire surface. So I am applying my 3 Trees Tan, and I'm applying it with the Zebra fan brush. And I'm using my Mr. Bottle, this color was just a little bit thick, to thin it out a little bit, and I only did 1 coat. You also want to make sure that your paint is completely dry in between steps. So before you move on to the next step, wait for your base to dry. After we do the grain, let that dry, and then you'll move on to your staining. Now we're applying the green color, and you want to do this in sections. So I'm applying the Restoration Bronze with another fan brush, and I am just going to do a section of this. Once I have my section done, I'm going to go in with my green tool and just pull it across. And you want to make sure that your paint is wet. That's why you're doing this in sections. So once I pull it across, I'm going to wipe off any excess paint that is on my green tool with a microfiber cloth, because you don't want it to get built up in the little grooves, because then you won't have the grain effect. And you just go back and forth until you get the look that you want. After all that paint is dry, I then went in with my stain and a little staining pad and just rub my stain in with the grain that I had created. And this will kind of just blend the 2 colors together to make it look more like actual wood. To seal in the top, I am using Polyvine in the dead flat finish, and I'm applying it with my blue sponge. I'm only sealing the top because the bottom was painted with the all-in-one, so I don't need to worry about sealing that since the top coat was included. And before we get into the final reveal, let's take a look back and remember what we started with here. And here is the final look. As always, let me know what you guys think in the comments.
If you have any questions, feel free to leave those below. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys next weekend with another flip.